Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. All things Middle Earth here, and I want to talk a little bit about the controversies surrounding the PBE test server. And devs, if you are listening, please hang with me because I want to try and explain from the community standpoint, the player-based standpoint, why there is so much panic surrounding the PBE test servers. I'm still really hoping that this plays out in a way that is beneficial to everyone. And I think having a test server and collecting feedback is an amazing first step to that. But we need to get some confirmation and communication that's clear. The Q&A that went out in the Discord the other day, to me and to many others, was vague and not really like giving direct answers. And I'll kind of reference that specifically later in the video so you guys know what I'm talking about. But we just need some clear answers on what's happening with the game. And this game has also been approved to be greenlit on the Chinese market as of the last 4 or 5 days, I believe, which people think is directly correlated to the changes because of the restrictions Chinese miners have in terms of how much they can game. There's a lot of details, but I want to kind of catch you guys up if you're not playing a PBE or just don't know what's going on and you're concerned about the future of the game. Stay tuned. All that's coming up in just 1 second. So if you've been living under a rock or just don't catch up on the stuff very much and you're wondering what is going on with PBE, I just want to really quickly show you guys some of the major things are the gear changes. Again, this is in the test server. This is not a different campaign. It's not live. And we haven't been indicated officially that this is going to be what the game's going to become. However, some think we have. Again, I'll get into like the vagueness of the devs Q&A post in a second. But really quickly put for gear, there are no more, there are no more of the effects that we know. That here, on these, this used to have Aegis. It's got thick armor now. Gear pieces work in set. So if I have 4 pieces with this thick armor set, then I get that bonus. And every single piece of gear has the same effects. Green through gold, doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what type it is. It could be a sword, it could be a helmet, it does not matter. They'll have the same effect. So it's very universalized. And the issue I think many players are having is whether you spend money or you don't, you spend time, you spend, however much money, whatever it is, playing this game and saving up your Mathams, and you get a gear or a piece of gear that has an effect that you want or whatever it is, and you build those things up. So for me, it's this with Aegis. That's a big one for my account. I have 2 Aegis helmets, and those are my only fully refined golds. And again, I've been playing for almost 2 years since this game came out. We're in the month that it came out. So this game's almost been out for 2 years. So for me, I spent that entire time trying to refine my gear so I could get better and better as I went along. So that all of a sudden being taken away, which a lot of times for me, that was the reason I opened Matham, was I want to get that last star on my piece of gear. I want to try and get that piece of gear with that effect. So it's so drastic. I think a lot of people are upset. And if you're curious, we did a poll on the channel with these relatives, like a 50-ish people, but we're going to do a public poll or a bigger poll soon. Would be in a video form, so stay tuned for that. But 80% of the people in the stream said they did not like the gear changes, and 11% were indifferent. So only about 8% were actually in favor of these. Again, I get where they're coming from, and we'll talk more about why I think this is implemented in a second. But at the end of the day, I don't think you can have a game one way for 2 years and then just significantly change it. The whole reason that many of us opened Mathams was to get specific pieces of gear. So if they've changed significantly, that's kind of an issue. Next up is some changes to commanders. Commanders no longer have sub-skill trees, they just have the titles. So it's a little bit more condensed or simplified. They're somewhat similar, and they have a bonus at levels 5 and 10, but they're not the exact same thing. So kits have changed. Some are better, some are worse. And again, if I'm opening chests and I'm trying to unlock a commander and all of a sudden they change significantly after 2 years, it's definitely hard for players to accept that. So that's the other big change with commanders. And last but not least is the army formations. Instead of going into your barracks and being able to put 3 troop types, so up to 3 troop types on 1 commander, you can now have 4 commanders in a formation, and they all can have 1 troop type with them. So the dynamic of PvP changes significantly, in my opinion. Now, I've not done a ton of fighting in the PvE test server, so if you've got experience, I would love to hear it. But in my mind, usually how this game works in PvP is you are using a commander and it's countered by other certain commanders. There's a strategy that goes into where you move, when you move, how you move, whatever. And that's what I enjoy with the PvP in the game. You see that someone took your tile and they have a Witch King, and you have something that can counter that, and you try, and it's like chess. So I really enjoy that. So to me, adding 4 takes some of the strategy out. I know some people think that there could be more, theory crafting and more dynamicness, and maybe it's hard to grasp for me personally now. So that's just my own personal note. But for me, I like the 1 commander. This is how this commander works. And that's, again, now would I love to see in the future other commanders made more viable? Absolutely. So I do think the kind of balancing as a byproduct of this is a good thing. I don't necessarily like the change as a whole, if that makes sense. So I do think we need balancing. I'd love commanders like Kumul to be good on his own. I think that'd be amazing, and I absolutely think that's where what the PBE should facilitate is kit changes to commanders like Kumul, who are iconic, the only named Nazgul in the entire Middle Earth Legendarium, and he's kind of garbage. So characters like that, other named characters we have, should be better, and I think that should happen. But through the means of this new formation system, I'm not crazy about it. So just wanted to catch you up. If you haven't seen, that is kind of what is going on with PBE, the big changes that really change it. The people are very much against it. That we took several polls, and it was just across the board voted majority no, they do not like these updates, and that's just what it is. So that's kind of what's going on. That's why the community is not happy. Now, I wanted to talk about the developer Q&A really quick too, because this went out 2 days ago. I will say it's not something that was like an at everyone, which maybe it just was, it didn't mean anything to me. With something as big as PBE going on, this is something you'd want to make sure everyone sees if it had really good information. The first question says, will all the content in PBE be applied to the official servers later? What's the purpose of this change? Which is a very good question that I think we deserve a very direct answer to. And I'll read through it and you can tell me what you think, but it doesn't seem like a yes or a no or a we'll see. It just very much steps around the question, I feel like. So will all the content in PBE be applied to official servers later? It says, in the new version, we're going to update the gameplay and features of the entire game. So in the new version of the game, then like new campaigns, I assume they're going to update the gameplay and features of the entire game. So does that mean, yes, all the major changes that like really change the game, that's all happening? That's kind of what that sounds like, but it's not a yes or a no here. It just says in the new version, it's just a lot of words to kind of leave you wondering what's going on. Then it says there are only a part of the new features included in the test, so more will be revealed in the future, which they have already posted and said like there are new things going to be coming to PBE, additional layers to add to this. But again, still not really addressing yes or no, this is not going to be coming to the main game. It's just like, well, we have more stuff for you to test too. For this test, we'll be more focused on your opinions and suggestions about new army formations and battle gameplay. We especially care about the entertainingness and depth of the new features and the balance and ease of operation in battle. So again, not a yes or a no. It says they're focused on opinions and suggestions about army formations and battle gameplay. What does that mean? Is that their way of saying gear and troops and commanders? Because troops have changed. I mean, everything has changed. So to me, this should have been a yes, this is how the game's going to look. For all intents and purposes, we're going to take your feedback and adjust as we can, but this is what it's going to look like. Or no, if the feedback is overwhelmingly negative, which it is, we're not going to massively change the game. I wish it would have just said one or the other, but instead it just leaves you kind of wondering like, what is going on? So then it says the characters of Middle Earth have always been an attractive, interesting element, and that's also a priority of the gaming experience offered by PBE. In order to let more commanders have a chance to show themselves in the game, we've adjusted their skills and functions altogether and designed a new army formation and battle modes so that commanders will be able to fight with units. Again, I don't disagree. There are lots of iconic commanders. I already made a point on that. And to me, the solution is not to like make us use 4 of them together so bad ones kind of can be good with good commanders. It's just to adjust the bad ones. I just think it's a simple answer, and I actually think it's an answer that would make the game money as well. So I don't understand how that works. But again, I'll link this if you want to read through the Discord later. But there's kind of a lot like that where it doesn't seem like it's a clear yes or no. We read through it on stream, and again, it's hard to know for sure what's happening. Now, last but not least, and I want to say, first of all, I'm not an expert on Chinese gaming laws or regulations. So if you do know or want to link me something in Discord that's more accurate, I'm totally fine with that. I'm just trying to share information as I've been told. So the big thing that came out, I believe 4 or 5 days ago, whatever it was, very recently, China approved 31.4 in video games, including Avatar and The Lord of the Rings, which is the Rise to War here. It says, based on he's received the green light to publish The Lord of the Rings, Rise to War, a mobile strategy game, yada, 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 and talks about how it made $6 million in January 2022. And that's kind of all it says about it. So it has been greenlit to be used in China, which to my understanding is also a very big market. So it should be I assume the developers are very happy about this. One other note on kind of Chinese gaming regulations, again, just with a quick Google search, could be wrong. It said that minors are allowed to play online games for only an hour a day and only on Fridays, weekends, and public holidays. So gaming for minors is very limited in China. And so part of the change to PBE has this energy consumption rule, which someone shared the math on stream. Compared to roleplay, at least, where you have just like good or evil, it was evil roleplay was the example. This energy system allows you to make like more than 10 times less moves per day. So if you're someone that likes to play a lot and is an active player, it's extremely limiting. If you play non-roleplay, it's even more than double that. So this is super limiting in terms of what you can do. And in the Q&A post, they mention the energy system and they basically say, what's the purpose of doing this? And one of the notes that stuck out to me that I think might be tied to the potential like Chinese gaming restrictions. Again, this is just what's going around. So let me know what you guys think. But it says that the energy system can ensure your better management of gaming time and reduce any possible burden forced on you by the gameplay. So again, they're like referring to the gameplay as which again, sometimes I get it. Like if you're playing against crazy teams that play 24/7, it's a lot. But they've specifically referenced the reason for this change is to really slow things down, to reduce the burden, the time needed to play the game. And that happens to be on the heels of the game being greenlit in China, where there are some more gaming restrictions than we see in other areas in the world. So I don't know. Also, someone had mentioned how loot boxes, there are different rules for loot boxes in video games in China, and that could be part of the gear changes. Again, I'm not an expert on any of this. I'm just trying to share all the information. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is an overreaction? Do you feel like the devs are going to change the game? And is the green light in China, is that relevant to any of this going on, or is it just a coincidence? It's kind of hard to believe it is, but just trying to share information with you guys as I hear it, because maybe you guys hadn't heard all that. But let me know what you guys think down below. And as always, I'll see you in a future video.